Hey, what's up everyone? I hope that everybody out there is having a fantastic new year so far. Thank you for checking out today's video where I'll be talking about a film that I actually think is extremely important for as many people to see as possible, and that's a film that's titled All Its Name Implies: Fire, Ash, and the Resilience of Paradise. This film is a documentary created by a very talented filmmaker named Ev Durán, whom I feel very fortunate and grateful enough to have befriended over the course of this past year on the start of my film/YouTube journey. He and another filmmaker whom I also have the utmost respect for and also feel lucky to have befriended, named Keith Macri, are good buddies, and I discovered them through their movie review channel, the Bluff Council, which you should definitely check out because they have some really awesome, entertaining, and informative conversations about some really great and sometimes not so great films, but every episode is a guaranteed good time. This movie documents the real-life aftermath of what turned out to be a huge fire that started on November 8th of 2018, known as the Camp Fire, and the effect it had on the small community of Paradise in Butte County, California, which is where Ev grew up and where a good number of his family and friends, including his mother, uncle, and several of his cousins, were still living at the time that the fire occurred. Now, for those of you who don't know anything about the Camp Fire, as I didn't before watching this documentary, it has been recorded as the most devastating wildfire in the history of California to date and raged on for 17 days before becoming 100% contained on November 25th of 2018. As for the town of Paradise itself, the small town was completely engulfed and was deemed as being completely destroyed, losing about 95% of its structures and leaving the majority of residents without homes. If you'd like to know more about the story, I highly encourage that you pick up a copy of this DVD and check it out, so I'll leave a link in the description below where you can pick it up. It's $15 US, and all of the proceeds go towards efforts to rebuild the small town of Paradise. There are a couple of different aspects of this film that I want to discuss. One being the technical and filmmaking aspects of the movie, which I'll say up front, I think are all pretty great. And the other being the emotional impact that I felt as a viewer due to the insight provided by Ev's personal connections to the place and people. I'm actually going to start there because I think that's the most important element to talk about and why I really think you should see this film. I'm just assuming here, but I am guessing that most people out there have seen some type of documentaries that revolve around some type of event or person that largely impacted a community, where people in said community were interviewed about how the event or person impacted them individually. I know I've seen several that were put together by larger television companies like the Discovery Channel, A&E, and the History Channel, which are all very well done and very effective in getting the viewer to understand the perspectives of those being interviewed and how they were each affected. But the fact that Ev has that personal tie to the community really shines through in this documentary, and I think what is really evident is how connected those being interviewed feel to Ev and how comfortable they are opening up to him in an almost familial way. And I guess that would likely be a really important element for everyone to not only have someone offer them an outlet to express their feelings and tell their stories, but for it to be somebody that they felt comfortable with and close to, especially being so fresh out of such a chaotic and life-altering event.
I get around this little building and there's an opening from this side of the canyon to this side. Whoom! There comes a tunnel of fire and it engulfs my car. So it's hitting. You can see it on the hood, the windshield. Behind you, I'm in a tunnel of fire. I'm thinking, oh my goodness, crap, I'm dead.
And the result of this connection between the filmmaker and his subject, and the fact that the subject could really open up comfortably and share their experience, at least from my perspective, is really what caused me as a viewer to totally absorb and accept the weight and emotional impact of what these people had gone through. Now, don't get me wrong, when I watch a documentary on Discovery or on whichever channel that focuses around a traumatic event, I feel empathy for those who went through the trauma and absorb a good degree of that emotional weight and impact. But I feel like the personal element really opens things up to an additional degree, and what I mean is this. Because people in this documentary are opening up to Ev in a familial way to share their experience, they are by proxy opening up to me as a viewer in a personal and familial way. That said, I definitely cried several times throughout the film, and my heart genuinely hurt for every single person that's been affected. But I was also hugely inspired by the resilience in their overall spirit and their determination to build forward, sending a loud message that life goes on strong despite the endurance of such horrific devastation.
It survived.
That's the key reason I felt so strongly compelled to do this video and to try to do whatever I could to help spread the word and maybe help Ev make a few sales that will help contribute towards the rebuilding of his hometown. Now let's get to the technical stuff. As I just said, I think that Ev and his creative team did a remarkable job putting this documentary together all the way around, but the cinematography is really what stood out to me in a big way. Being a documentary, of course, there is a lot of raw cell phone footage from people's phones that document the fire as it was occurring, which is all very breathtaking.
There goes our house. It's all engulfed now.
But the shots that were taken by Ev and his creative team of the interviews and aftermath were all very well composed, and I found myself being really impressed by that element. From someone who has a good appreciation and a decent understanding of cinematography from an educational perspective, it also looked to me like there were some pretty nice cameras and lenses used for those shots, as the depth of field was nice and shallow and the focus was very crisp, and the colors were fantastic. It looked every bit as professional and well shot as any Discovery Channel or A&E documentary, which I mean in an extremely complimentary way. The next thing I'll mention is the audio, which anyone who learns about filmmaking knows is a huge deal, and is usually considered equally important to the video quality. And I think that the sound design is overall done very well. Capturing good audio, especially out in the field, is a tricky thing, and generally when an audio team is more on the amateur side and haven't yet mastered 100% of those skills that go into it, it stands out in some way, usually with noise. Particularly wind noise and clipping, which is when the signal being recorded becomes too loud and distorts. These are also things that are extremely difficult to get rid of completely in post, and though technology has come a long way in helping develop tools that effectively assist in this process, there is still no 100% guarantee, especially on a smaller budget, to be able to completely eliminate it. So chances are, if clean and usable audio isn't captured at the source, the final product will likely sound very amateur. But in the instance of this film, it's obvious that Ev had a solid audio team who knew what they were doing. The audio designing in post also comes across to me as having been done very well. It doesn't seem like there is any level of imbalance or feel like anything is mixed too loudly or quietly. And I'm not sure if any of the noises that were captured in the final product are the result of using Foley effects, which are sounds that have either been pre- or post-recorded to effectively assist the movements happening on screen when the audio captured in the field doesn't stand out well. But either way, it's an impressive result and sounds very professionally put together as far as my ear can tell, so hats off to the audio guys on the project. The next thing I want to compliment is the editing. Everything transitions very smoothly from one shot to the next, accompanied by Ev's narration, and it's all pieced together in such a way that it remains cohesive throughout the entire documentary. The order that the story through Ev's perspective is told feels very natural, but also very organized in the sense that it feels like it has a definitive beginning, middle, and end to it. Also, as I mentioned earlier, I felt like the footage that was shot by Ev and his team to capture the aftermath and the interviews had some outstanding color quality, which is usually the result of the combination of filming in either a log or raw camera profile with the correct settings, then color correcting and grading in post. And both aspects were done exceptionally well in my opinion. Overall, it's a beautifully crafted documentary with an important purpose and with a lot of heart. Again, I highly recommend that you pick up a copy of this and check it out if you're interested in learning more about the fire and the community of Paradise. And again, all of the proceeds go towards the efforts to rebuild the small town. I want to thank everybody for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed this review. Please be sure to hit that like button if you did, and consider subscribing so that you don't miss out on any of the awesome movie-related content we have coming up here on the channel. I hope that everybody out there is doing well, and I'll see you all in the next video. Today's video has been brought to you by the 3 DOS Ghosts Gaming and Entertainment Organization. Please click down on the link below to check out and join our community Discord.